Hello everybody. It looks like there's a few people here to watch, and it's an interesting day because today Drupal 9 is being launched. You might tell that I have a beautiful number 9 back here, and if I switch cameras you can also see that I have moved this way. I have also put up a wonderful banner celebrating Drupal with many colors and golden letters that now have caused me to have glitter on my fingers, but you know, that's the way it is. Let me switch back to the other camera that makes me look better. There we go. And so today Drupal 9 is launching, and I have been working with Drupal for years and years. I think I posted, or I told a story about how I got into Drupal and became kind of an open source focused developer probably 10 years ago now. And one of the people that did that is web chick, or Angie Byron. Oliver says it's 10 p.m. in the UK. Well, you know, you're not going to go to bed right now anyways, so might as well watch and celebrate a little bit. Angie helped me to debug an issue I was having with contributing back to Drupal, and she spent a lot of time helping me. So throughout my life since then, I've always tried to give back as much as I can, because I have made a living and been able to do a lot of awesome things in my life just because I've been able to do open source work and build websites on Drupal and build infrastructure with Ansible and use lots of open source projects. So I am always grateful to the community and always happy to give back as much as I can. Now I'm going to switch over to, I have not done a Drupal stream in a while, so my streaming setup is all over the place here. Here's a screen share. So I have a website, pydramble.com. You can go to it. It's live right now. It's been around since 2014 or 2015. I don't remember exactly when I started it, but it is running, well, so it normally is running on my Pi cluster, but right now I'm doing some testing. I don't know if you can see this. It's plugged in and running, and it's doing a benchmark. This is the Turing Pi cluster. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, there are some videos on how to set up your own Turing Pi cluster. The Turing Pi is not actually out yet. It's pre-release, but I have a development board version of it here for testing. So I'm building that and comparing it to the PyDramble that you see on the screen right here. And so right now I have, well, I can't pick it up because it's plugged in and mounted on the wall, but I have a Raspberry Pi 4 Raspberry Pi 4 4 gigabyte, just a single Pi that's running it, and it's using some software called Drupal Pi. And of course, since everything I do almost is open source, the source code for this entire project is here, Raspberry Pi Dramble. It's a Kubernetes cluster that I might convert to K3s at some point, but it's running plain Kubernetes right now. And the single Pi setup is called Drupal Pi, and you can run it too. And I thought I had a link to it in here. Maybe I don't. There you go, Drupal Pi. So that if you have a single Raspberry Pi, you can actually set this exact same site up on your own Raspberry Pi and run a site. And I actually have a project that talks all about using Drupal and Kubernetes, but a lot of it applies to running Drupal and Docker as well in a production environment. And that project is under my Drupal for Kubernetes repository, which is also open source. In fact, all the code for, where am I? All the code that, including all the content for the PyDramble, is in that repository, and I think technically that makes it like Creative Commons type licensed text. But anyway, this is the website. The code base behind running it on a Drupal Pi is open source. The code base for the Drupal 8 website is open source. Everything's open source. It's kind of like an open source party. So I saw that Drupal 9 was going to be released, and this was about a week ago when I was also behind on doing some editing for some Turing Pi cluster videos and working on my next Ansible 101 series video and trying to do all the other things that I do in my normal life. And I thought, why not throw in an extra little thing? So I thought to celebrate Drupal 9's release, I would, or celebrate Drupal. To celebrate the release, I would do something special, and I thought I could just do a live stream of an upgrade. What could go wrong? Well, you can take down the website like I did on a live stream upgrading my Drupal 7 site to Drupal 8 a couple weeks ago. You can go back and look into the Drupal migration series that I did. And for the live streaming audience, you will not see this, but afterwards I'll try to put a little card which should be right above me over there. and you'll be able to click on that and go to those videos. And why not? I can also mention and see if this magically works as well. Again, you can't see it live, but you'll be able to see it afterwards right up there. Now you should see a card with a link to the Turing PyCluster video for running lots of different applications, including Drupal and WordPress, so you could compare the two on a Turing PyCluster of Raspberry Pi compute models. Anyways, so I was just going to take a picture. There's a lot of great videos and pictures on here already. I was just going to take a picture and post it there, but I thought I have this set up, and I even have multiple camera angles now. I have this wall camera that you can see, and that way you can actually see my full shirt, which usually in my live streams you don't get to see. This is from DrupalCon Seattle. The last time, there's that camera. I keep looking over here, but the camera's here now. The last time that we all got together as a big group in Drupal world, so it's sad that we didn't get to get together this year, but there will be the virtual DrupalCon, so we'll get to that. And someday we'll all be back together in community. And Oliver says WebChick is awesome. Yes, she is. Very good. So let's get started with it. One thing to note is that Drupal 9 is launched today, but releasing a version of Drupal, especially a new major version, is a lot of work, especially since there aren't many big changes in Drupal 9, but there are lots of small changes, deprecations, and also a lot of little things that require packaging changes. And it's been going on throughout Drupal 8's release cycle. So each version of Drupal, there's been a few things that have been ironed out, and now the infrastructure team is working on the Drupal 9 release. We'll see if it comes to fruition during this live stream or not. If it doesn't, my backup plan is to upgrade to Drupal 8.9.0 RC1 and see how that goes. The worst possible case is I wipe everything out and go back to 8.8 point something until 9.0 comes out and I get time to do it. But I figure we can still try, see if the website goes down or not. This morning I saw, or maybe it was earlier, 5:29. Actually, that's a few days ago. There was a pretty good article from the Acquia Lightning team about getting ready for Drupal 9. And so I figured I'd run through that process because it does have every step that you want to do. And consider this the consolidation of, I think, 12 episodes, 12 hours long of actually, I don't know, it might have been more than 12 episodes of the Drupal 7 to 8 migration process for my website. And there were also many hours outside of those live streams that I did touch-up work and fixing bugs and doing some theming stuff. With Drupal 9, the big promise is there's not any major shifts. There's no new theming system, so you don't have to rewrite your theme. There's no big new APIs, and there's no major functional shifts in code that cause you to rewrite all of your code. You just have to make sure that your code is not using any deprecated functionality from Drupal 8, that most modules and projects have already been updated over the past 5 years to not have that anyways. So there's already most modules that are popular are already working in Drupal 9, and if not, there's a dev release or a patch that you can apply that can do that. And so there's also this upgrade status module. So I'm going to grab this module and install it into this project. So I have the site running locally, and again, this is all open source. So if you wanted to, you can do all this. I grabbed the repository. I built the Docker image, I ran the Docker environment, and then I installed all the composer dependencies, and finally I installed Drupal using this command. And so now I have the Drupal site, which is here. If I go to localhost/user and log in, well, it should be working. Hopefully maybe it was just sleeping a little bit and we have to nudge it. There we go. Admin, and here's the password for that. Now this is my local host, so you can't log in with this on the live site. I know that some people would try. I have a friend here in St. Louis who, when we had our regular St. Louis Drupal user group meetups, he would always find ways to work around any security vulnerability that I would introduce in live demos and things like that. So I have the site running here, and it is on Drupal, if this ever loads. One thing is I notice my processor is going a little bit insane right now. I think I have Slack open still, and that is probably a bad idea. But I wanted to have it open in case I needed to jump over to the D9 launch site, the D9 launch Slack channel, which is here. Yeah, there's nothing in there right now. Anyways, the computer seems to be coping okay at least. But let's see. So it's running Drupal 8.8.6, trusted host. That's fine because for my local environment, I don't care about this setting. For production or the Raspberry Pi, I think it has that setting. And everything else looks okay. Another thing to check is you want to make sure you're running the latest version. Why did I click the modules page? You want to make sure you're running the latest version of all your modules. And then we're going to install this upgrade status module to help us verify that they have Drupal 9 compatible versions. So we can see that Drupal core 8.9.0 is just released, and I think 8.8.7 is coming out today as well. So if it hasn't popped out yet, it will. And so if you're sticking with Drupal 8, you need to upgrade, obviously. But we're not sticking with Drupal 8. We're going to go to Drupal 9. And these two modules are the only two contrib modules I'm using on the site right now. So I actually cheated, and I know that they are going to be compatible. But I want to show you the process here. So I'm going to add this upgrade status module and see if I can kill my faster max CPU. That was one problem I had early in the Drupal 7 to 8 migration series, is that I would do the live stream and it would take like 5 minutes to do any composer operations. So I bought a newer laptop due to some generosity from a sponsor that I got a couple months ago. And this new laptop has been so much better because the computer does not die every time I do a live stream. All right. Oh boy, it's installing a few dependencies there. Okay, so it should be there, and then I'm going to, well, I could enable it with Drush. I'm just going to go on the site itself and go to extend and find it in here, because I don't know if there's any submodules. It doesn't look like there's anything else that installs with it. Upgrade status, review the Drupal 9 readiness of the environment. So I'll go ahead and install that. And Oliver says the Markdown module. Yeah, I actually use that on my personal site. There's a couple modules, one of them I maintain, a couple modules on my personal site that are not Drupal 9 compatible and need a few tweaks. And one of those modules, like I said, is one that I maintain, Simple Mail. So I'm working on getting those updated, and maybe at some point I'll record some more videos for that site, because it is more complicated, but it should be a pretty easy lift to Drupal 9 once the few modules remaining are there. So let's see, upgrade status. Upgrade status, it's under reports. By the way, if you don't know what these drop-down menus are from, that's the admin toolbar module, puts these drop-downs in. So it's a lot easier to navigate Drupal's interface. This is fun. So the Drush version should be version 10. So let me update that. Let's see if I can update that. It should just be composer upgrade Drush. Or let's see, what do I have here? Drush. So I have Drush 9. I'm going to just try this and see if it works. It could explode. Composer require Drush, and then we'll do up 10.0.0. So it was good to install the upgrade status module. I would not have checked anything with Drush, and we might have had some issues. And Ralph says, are you running the Docker Edge version with mutagen caching currently? Yes, I am, but not on this particular project. And the reason for that is just I forgot about turning it on for this project. I have it for my personal website. And what Ralph is mentioning with mutagen caching is if you're running Docker on Mac, it's incredibly slow if you share a Drupal code base from your Mac into the Docker container, even if you use caching in the volume mount. So Docker Edge has a new feature called mutagen file sync that uses mutagen on the back end, but it's very seamless, and it's basically native performance in Docker on Mac with a shared code base. There's a couple teeny tiny annoyances with it, like sometimes it takes a few seconds for files to sync between the two environments, but I live with that happily because now tests take like 2 seconds instead of a minute, and operate like Drupal page loads take less than a second. So anyways, it looks like it upgraded Drush. So I'm going to say Drush -- version. Let's see, vendor bin Drush -- version, because I apparently don't have, whatever that Drush global thing is that launches Drush if you just type in Drush. So Drush is running at 10.2.2. Let's refresh this and see if it's good. So it's on version 10. These look good. Let's see. So I actually have a few. I didn't realize I had some custom things in this code base, but apparently I do. So I have a custom theme. I don't think that this is going to have any issues. It does have breakpoints. This theme is actually much more complex than my personal website theme. And then I have, where is it? Custom modules. So I have a couple modules in here. The default content module, this is something that's interesting, and I don't think I've ever done a video on it, but default content lets you install content with a module on a Drupal site. And it's not meant to be like necessarily a content synchronization tool, but what I do is I reinstall the site from scratch every time that I do an upgrade. And that lets me have an easy to rebuild Drupal site, since I often dispose of I don't throw away my Raspberry Pi, but I tear down the environment and build it again. And it's easier than having to back up the database and copy the files and all that kind of stuff. So I have all the pictures and images and all the content for the site stored in this module, and then it gets copied in through the default content module. So something cool if you ever need to build demo sites, that kind of thing, it can be helpful. And I have a analytics thing. I guess this is just a block. Yeah, that's just a block for my Fathom Analytics instance that sends request data back to my Fathom Analytics instance that's much more privacy conscious and much faster than Google Analytics. So let's see if I can do the scanner and see if these things are all good. I'm going to scan everything. Devel is uninstalled, but I have it updated. That's fine. Scan. Let's see how this works. I haven't actually tried this project, but from what I saw, it looked pretty cool. It uses a bunch of different PHP tools to check code and API usage and things like that. So we'll see. I'm surprised that this number 9 kept floating away from the wall, so I put some tape on it, and luckily it has not fallen. And let's see. Oops, let me go back here. While it's doing this, I'll go back to the Wallcam full screen, and you can enjoy this. I need to move this way. You can enjoy this beautiful banner that I put up. And I was hoping that this would finish sooner, but it seems like it's not finishing that quickly. So, whoops, wrong one. Like I said, it's been a couple weeks since I've done a Drupal thing, and I rearranged the way that I do my live streaming, and so the buttons are all in different places. So I do an Ansible 101 series, and I was doing a Drupal migration series, and I changed everything around for Ansible 101. And so now my brain is just not seeing where the buttons are. So if you see things like all of a sudden everything goes on fire, that's why. I'd still have that little fire graphic, which will be very appropriate if I blow up the website, which is likely to happen. But that's why you're watching, most likely. So Drush Launcher is what I was talking about. So Oliver, thanks for mentioning that. You might have noticed I ran Drush version and it said couldn't find Drush. Drush is a project local thing in most modern Drupal code bases. It lives inside your Drupal project. So if you just run Drush, it's going to look in your path, your system's path, and try to find Drush in your user local bin or your user bin or whatever folders are in your path. And so Drush is not installed globally on your computer, it's installed in the project. So you can install Drush Launcher globally on your computer. And then you can just run Drush instead. All right, this is still scanning. It's done some analysis. I don't know, I don't know if it's sending out traffic anywhere. I'm not gonna open up my network monitor to see exactly what's happening because I don't know if there's anything else that would be running that would reveal any private info that I don't want revealed. Someone mentioned on one of my other live streams, I went like this and they're like, we saw your public IP address. Well, I'm running a website in my basement from my house, and you can pretty quickly find the route to my public IP by going through that website. So it's not that private of information. And like I said, half my life is open source, so probably more than half. So it's not like I don't try to prevent any particularly private information from being revealed. This is almost done. Whoops. Someone asked, is this streaming from a Raspberry Pi? No, the Raspberry Pi would not be a good platform for streaming content, unfortunately. Even the new 8 GB Model 4 So let's see, we got some warnings in here. Let's see what we have. This one says add core version requirement, so I'll do that. This is very useful. So PyDraml Analytics, I just need to add that. So that's good. And then what else? Close that. PyDraml theme probably just needs the same thing. Yep. So I'll do that. And that is under pydraml.info.yaml. I'll add that there. Okay. And that's funny. Hey, where'd they, oh, there it is. Okay, so PyDraml default content had a couple of errors. Okay, so this will be interesting. Let me see what's going on here. This is in PyDraml default content.install. Oh boy. What am I doing? That's an uninstall. Am I in the right file here? PyDraml default content. PyDraml default content.install. Oh, so this is the install file. And we're talking about the entity manager. So the funny thing is this is in hook uninstall. So technically, I don't know if I need to care because I'm not going to be uninstalling this module. I'd still like to get this working, but what is it doing? Huh. So it looks like when it uninstalls, it deletes links. I don't even know why I did this. Because I'm not, if I uninstall I probably did this when I was testing the module out and making sure that my content was working correctly. It would go through and delete everything from the site, and then I could install it and recreate it all. I don't think I have to care about this, because if it's a hook uninstall, it's only going to run when the module is uninstalled on the site, and I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do though, and this is something that every migration I do, there's always going to be some to-dos in the code. Some of them sadly you might never get to. Like for instance, this one, like, do I really want to spend half an hour or an hour figuring out the update process for this? It's probably not that hard, but if it might be, and I don't want to, I have dinner coming up, so I don't want to miss that. Some of you might have bed coming up. I don't want to hold you up too late. So I'm just going to put it to do, update this code to work with Drupal 9. And I'll put even in here, I'll put in this comment. Let's see, I'll just format it a little nicer. Okay. And the other one is on, let's see, is on here. So sometimes I'm lazy and I do it the same way that I remember from Drupal 7 when I'm doing these, writing this code, and that's probably what I did here. Or a few times too, like sometimes you'll find these warnings, and actually Drupal Rector can fix this automatically. Huh. Let's see if that works. Oh, and I need to do this. Let me do that before I do anything else. So that would be cool if that actually does work. And I'm sure a few people on the live stream are probably like, you could have done that. Because usually afterwards I look at the live chat and I see somebody saying, do this. And like 10 minutes later in the live stream, I realize that I should do that. All right, so I did that. Let's see if Drupal Rector, I'm going to copy this in case I need it. But let's see if I can do this. Drupal Rector. How do you do it? Documentation. Let's see. I don't want to do this too much. Okay, so we'll do this. Require Drupal Rector. What directory do I have this in? It's in the web directory. Rector config webdir. And I guess I can just grab this, and it says what? Rector.yaml, new file, save that. as rector.yaml. Man, my computer is kind of dying right now. I don't know how big this project is, but it's every time you run Composer, it seems to take up about 6 gigs of memory and all of your CPU. If this doesn't work really quick, then we'll go back to just putting this to do in here and forgetting about it for now. But this is nice in terms of I think I saw what was it called, a Drupal camp session or something like that, where somebody used this and it looked like it was fairly robust, and with a lot of the Drupal 8 upgrade stuff to get rid of deprecations, it is pretty straightforward, but we'll see. Let's see. So use it to apply changes. I will try this. Okay, so it's installed. And I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I'm using Git. So if it blows things up, I'll just delete it all and start over. I'm going to do that. And it's in custom PyDramble default content. So it's this. Custom that. Let's see if that does something. I have no idea. Never done this before. And Oliver says that Oliver Davies says this is what the Drupal automated update bot is using. And so that's pretty cool. It's nice. I remember, let's see, it did 2 things. So let's see what it did. It changed this file scan directory to use the Drupal file system service to scan the directory. That's cool. And it's using the entity type manager service. That's okay. So I'm really happy I did that because that's really easy. Now this is fully compatible with Drupal 9. And so I don't know, it says palantir.com Rector. I don't know who all's involved with this, but whoever is, thank you very much. That was awesome. That was a lot faster than the 30 minutes to an hour that I would have had to spend finding the change records for things, updating them, testing them, and all that. So cool. I like it. If somebody knows who are some of the main people behind it, that'd be cool to give them a shout out on Twitter later. And you could also post in the chat. That was I remember doing this, I think in Drupal 5 to 6 or 6 to 7, there was an attempt at this, and it was just, I can't complain too much because somebody spent a lot of time working on that. But it was back when everything was functional. It was, a lot of Drupal WTFs in the code base and things like that. So it was a lot harder back in the day. And I tried it on a few modules and it just blew up. And so it only worked for very simple use cases. This is using the power of the, Drupal's more object oriented and has services and things like that. It's a lot easier with that structure to do things like automated code migrations. So that is one big benefit that some people might not think about with a more modern code base that uses Symfony and all that. Anyway, so that was cool. All right, so I'm going to remove Rector. Remove, what was it? Composer. Remove with dependencies. I don't know. I think that's not necessary anymore. Yeah, it doesn't need with dependencies because I think it removes them. I don't think it needs the dev either, but let's do that. And then I'll commit the updates for Drupal 9 readiness. Yeah, Oliver mentions PHP Tools. PHP, the whole community, the language, the tooling, the speed and performance, everything has gotten so much better in the past 5 or 6 years. And Drupal has been in that curve of awesomeness. So that's one reason I have still stuck with Drupal, even though sometimes the needs of the Drupal community itself diverge from the needs of Jeff Geerling's web development needs. A lot of the sites that I build nowadays are just static HTML or generated with Jekyll or tools like Jekyll that are just generating static HTML from Markdown or RST or other languages. But I don't build, what do they call it? I don't build excessive digital experience. What is it? What is the phrase? Ambitious. And sometimes they are excessive when you have to download a 20 megabyte file to load a homepage. But ambitious digital experiences. Mine is not very ambitious. It's just a blog. And this is just a site that Could very well be a static website. But anyway, so I removed it. Let's check what's going on here. Git status. So it has the updates for these modules, and I can remove the Rector file. Rector. I'm reminded of a joke that my grandma used to make. Rectum darn near killed him. And it's appropriate for me because I have Crohn's disease, and I was in the hospital. I won't go too much into detail, but my rectum did darn near kill me at one point. And now I don't have it, so it's much better. You can look that up on my blog if you want. Look up Crohn's disease, or the joy of Crohn's. That's a good one. All right, let's see. Remove that file. Git status. I'm going to do a git diff because this is a big change here. Drupal 9 readiness. So it's adding the upgrade status. I can probably yank that out. Let me check one more time. I don't want to add it to my code base and have it there if I don't need it anymore. So where is that? Where did I have it open? Oh, I must have closed it. Localhost. Let me go back there and check again. Upgrade status. Let me rescan this. These I know are going to be fine because I had to just make that one last check. And I'm going to scan it. Hopefully it'll be a little bit quicker this time. We'll see. Oh, and now somehow my YouTube windows got all messed up, so let me fix that. Git add -p. Yeah, I'm glad the rectum is better. Thank you very much, Tech Loading. It is doing much more awesomer. Let's see. And Gonzalo, hopefully I said that right, said that there was no sound, but it was because he had muted the tab. It was not my fault, which is good, because most of the time it is my fault. All right, let's see. So no known errors. I'll go ahead and do these two just for fun. Before I remove default content, or before I don't want to remove that, remove upgrade status. So composer, remove Drupal upgrade status. And I'll have that ready to go once this is done. So I can close this, close that, and close this. And then I'm going to check on, so I have an issue open in the repository, which is right here, and I have a checklist. And the first thing I'm going to do is upgrade Composer and also make sure that I don't spend way too much time doing this. I'm going to see, we'll see if, I don't think it's going to be out yet, but we'll be going to the RC, I think, for today. But we'll upgrade to 900 RC1. And another thing that I'll need to do is update, I think, if I go to localhost, oh, it finished, let's see. Hey, everything's good. All right, so I'm going to uninstall this module. I'll just use the interface. Should probably just use Drush, but whatever. Upgrade status, uninstall. Yes. Goodbye to that. It was awesome. It was short, but it was awesome. It worked great. If it ever finishes, I will remove it from the project. And let me go back to the home page. So there's a few places on the site that mention Drupal 8. So I need to update that. And what I'm going to do is just search for Drupal 8. Looks like it's twice on here. This is, what is this block? Can I just change it in the block? No. Site slogan. Okay, so that's on the site information page. I'll go there. This is technically not true yet, but that's okay. Hopefully there's no private information in here. The 404 page has a fun little thing, I think. Let me see if it's there. That's another fun thing that I like to do on my sites. So I have a 404 page on here that has a beautiful picture of a pie. So you shouldn't leave on an empty stomach. So here's a picture of a yummy raspberry Pi. I remember for server check-in, I spent a bit of time working on its 404 page, and you'll find that it actually pings, and this actually is going to ping whatever that server is. So if you use something real like www, that's a lot of W's, apple.com, it will actually ping it, and if it's working, it'll give you a result. So, you know, sometimes I spend a little too much time on a 404 page, but I love it when I come to a site and see something fun like that. I don't think I've done that on my personal site. I'll have to figure out some fun way, maybe for April Fools. Anyway, so we got that Drupal 9 there. We have, where was the other one? in the footer block. I think I can just edit that here. Drupal 9, and this is a custom block. I think I might have to export this block using the default content module. Source, no. Content, block content, yes. So I'm going to have to export that block, which is block 1. So there's, with this default content module, whenever you change content on the site, you can export it to your module using this command down here, drush dcer, default content export, export, I don't know, ECER, I don't know what ER stands for. But anyway, I want to export this block. So first I'm going to say get status. I'm going to say get diff, make sure that it's just drush being upgraded. Okay, that's drush. And then some drush dependencies. Core version requirements being added to these modules. These are the 2 Drupal 9 incompatible changes, so everything's good there. Get add -a. Actually, I want to say get status. What am I on? I'm on master. Get checkout -b Drupal Drupal. I always type Drupal. I don't know why. Drupal 9. So I'm making a new branch. Get status. So I'm on Drupal 9, and I'm going to commit these. Get commit -m. And then what is this issue? I like referring to the issue in my commits. So issue number 29. Prepare all modules and dependencies for Drupal 9. Get push -u origin Drupal 9. And I'm going to use GitHub GHPR create to create a pull request, just so I can double check everything before I merge it when I'm about to do that. Use that for the title. E closes number, and I am sorry that I'm flying through this part. If you are not familiar with all these tools, you might be like, what the heck is he doing? Basically, I'm submitting a PR through my terminal, and some people are like, how are you so productive on GitHub? It's because I never leave my terminal if I don't have to. Anyway, so I submitted that PR, and it's available here. If you go in here and refresh, you'll see that there's now a pull request that I submitted through the command line that has all the changes that I was just showing you in the terminal. Anyway, so we have that. Next step is I want to export this new block change. So I'm going to copy this whole block here out and go block. Let me confirm what the block is that I updated. It is, if I hover over edit, I can see, you can't see where I'm pointing right now, but down at the bottom left of the browser window, you can see the destination, or the URL that I'm about to click on is localhost/block/1, which is the block ID. So it's block 1. Export that, and we'll see if it shows the difference here. Oh, block with ID 1 does not exist. Is it block content or something? I don't remember. Let me look at the README here. Yeah, and Oliver mentions with GH and Hub. Hub is the older version that GitHub had for command line based management. GH has some bugs in it, but it's a little more modern code base, and has a couple features that are a little nicer, but a couple features that are a little worse. So if you haven't changed, it's not a big deal. Someday it will probably make a difference. All right, so, oh, block content. Okay, so that's what I need to do, because this is not a block entity, it's a block content entity that I'm exporting. Okay, and then get status to see what happened. So it changed this block, which is in this module. So the PyDramble default content module that I have, I exported the block and it's here, and the change is diff. The change is this text, and it changes from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9, so that's good. Git add -a, make sure I'm just adding that. Git commit -m, issue number 29, update the footer block to mention Drupal 9. Git push, okay. So that changes up. The next one was in the site, what is this called? The slogan. And that one you can get to through basic site settings. We changed this to Drupal 9, so I need to export the site's configuration. I should do that anyway because I didn't change any settings. So that one should be the only one that changes. So I'm going to use I'm going to use Drush to do a config export, and I'm doing these commands through my Docker environment, so that's why I'm doing this. If you use other tools like, what is it, what's another development, DDEV or something like that, it has a wrapper for this so that you don't have to do this full command, but I just do it this way because, I don't know, I like inflicting pain. I don't know. All right, so git status, that should just be that change, git diff. So yeah, it's just changing the slogan. That's good. Git commit, git add, git status, git commit, -m issue number 29, update, what is it? Update site slogan to mention Drupal 9 and push that up. Okay, so we got those. There's probably, I might put a news story for this at some point, but I'm not going to do that right now. There might be a couple. Okay, so there's Drupal 8 in here. And I'm probably going to have to do new benchmarks because there's a new version of Drupal. So I'm going to put Drupal 9 here. And I'm going to quickly run through these pages and see if there's any mentions of Drupal 9. This is totally the least efficient way to do this, but I don't have the database open right now, so I can't just do a search in there really quick. All right, Drupal 8, nothing. Drupal 8, nothing. Drupal 8, nothing. 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 There's a lot of pages. Sorry for making you watch this. I should have done this before the stream, but that's okay. Oh, here's the thing. All right. Oh, I might need to update that too. Let me edit this first. So this is node 19. I need to export that. Node 19. So I'm not going to export it yet. I first have to make this change. Drupal 9 site, save, export that, and I believe the wiki home might have also been the other page. Yeah, Drupal 9. So this is node 5. Node 5. All right, so those two changes. I'll check this out in a minute. Drupal 8, no. Drupal 8, no. Drupal 8, no. This is half of a web developer's life, is doing ridiculous things like this. Drupal 8, no, Drupal 8. Okay, so Drupal benchmarks. I am going to edit this. What I'm going to do is put a note at the top because I'm not going to change all this today because that would require, you might not know this, but some people are not good at benchmarking things. Other people are way too good at it, and I would put myself somewhere in the middle. Not good benchmarks are when you run something one time and you take that time and you say, oh, this is this speed. You have to do a lot of things like you have to warm up the device if it is affected potentially by heat or by airflow or things like that. So you have to warm up the device to its operating temperature. You have to run the benchmark. You have to run it for long enough that it could be affecting the temperature of the device itself, which can affect the way your code runs due to throttling and other issues. And then you have to run it multiple times. Usually a minimum would be 3 or 4. You have to discard the first and last results and then use the middle results. You have to have an automated setup that can do that over and over again. Then you have to look at your standard deviation and the percentage differences. Basically what I'm saying is this page, a page like this is deceptively simple. And a lot of people do these benchmarks and they put something out there and it might have some extraordinary finding. And what you find is if you try to reproduce their benchmarks, you find a different result. I try to make sure that I document every little step in detail, every command I run, the model numbers of everything that I used, the type of computer, the processor speed, the RAM, everything. And a lot of times I have an open source project that lets you rerun the benchmark yourself. And sometimes you can use something like Phoronix. But the basic point is it would take me a few days to redo all these tests for right now. So I'm not going to do that on the video. But I will add a block quote that says, note. This page is in the process of being updated for Drupal 9 and the latest versions of Raspberry Pi OS. using a 8 gigabyte Raspberry Pi 4. All right, and I'll make that bold, save this page, and that, look at the pretty background. I probably spent like 30 minutes making this look like this for these, what are these called? Block quotes. So anyway, this page is node 25, so we'll export that one, 25. And now I believe that's all the pages on the site. Let me check. I'm going to make a note for this. I'm not going to do this on the live stream. New issue, update project documentation for Drupal 9 if needed. And I'll say browse the docs here. Okay, so I'll do that some other time because that's not directly related to the PyDramble site. Okay, so save that. Let me get status. GS is a shortcut for get status in my terminal. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if there's any overlays on YouTube that are blocking it. Sometimes I do that. So these are the changes. Get diff is going to show a ton of changes because these are all stored as one line in that. If I go to one of these, where's node? If I go to one of these, the body field is stored as one huge line. So there's only like a few words changed or maybe even one letter, but it shows up as a change in the terminal like this. There's a way, I forget what, somebody could probably post it on here. There's a way to get it to just show the word that changed. In GitHub's interface, it does this. So if I say git add all, git status, git commit -m, update wiki content for Drupal 9. Whoops. And I need to put an issue reference again, issue number 29. So if I go over to GitHub into this pull request that I have set up for this, it actually shows, let me go to that commit, which is now here. It actually shows just the word that, well, it would, but the problem is this is so long. If I scroll all the way down here, Git's UI automatically just shows you the word that's different. Git diff, word diff. Okay, so Oliver said, well, now I can't do it unless I mess with some other things, which I don't want to do right now. But git diff -- word diff lets you see just the word that's changed instead of scrolling forever and ever and ever, and I probably already missed it. So, oops. Anyway, all right, so forget that. Forget I ever talked about that part. If you need to do that in the terminal, use git diff -- word diff. And hi, Gabor. Good to see you, and thank you for all your hard work on all this Drupal 9 stuff. Part of the reason why we can do it so smoothly is due to your work and many other people's work in getting modules to just add that one simple line change, and that's what most modules need. One of the modules that I maintain that I still have not updated. It just needs that line added to the info.yaml file, and that makes it Drupal 9 compatible. Okay, so anything else in here? This is a great blog post for going through the process, and basically we did most of this stuff at this point. Fixing your errors, you can use Rector, we did that. And then upgrading to Drupal 9, let's see. You may have to do some composer wrestling. I don't think I've ever not had to do composer wrestling, so I would be incredibly surprised if I don't have any issue. Let's see. So I'm going to try this out, and now we're finally to step 1 of my checklist. Actually, we did most of that. Let me check if there's Drupal 8. Well, I don't know if that's going to be updated. Drupal 8 theming guide. The funny thing is, so I'm using Drupal recommended. That's what Drupal core is in here. So what is it? Drupal. Huh. Okay, so I used the Drupal scaffold for this project. That was before Drupal core, Drupal.org had its own project template. So I'm going to go ahead and try doing this and see what happens. And this will be the upgrade, and we'll see if it blows up or not. Oh, actually, I exported config, didn't I? I don't know. Now I'm forgetting what I did. Because like I said, sometimes, actually I didn't say this in this live stream, I did in the earlier one today. When I'm in live streaming mode, my brain kind of turns off some of the debugging mode. I did That was the install. Man, okay, let me just try copying and pasting this command. Make sure there's no config that is incorrect here. Okay, git status. It's all good. Now I'm going to try doing the upgrade to the code base. Now again, I'm doing this all locally, so at this point I'm not going to blow up pydramble.com. And you should, if you're running a Drupal site, you should not do changes like this on the live site. I know a few people that still do. It's not a good idea. You will explode your website many times. Okay, so let's see. Webflow, Drupal core, required dev. Okay, so how do I get past that? Since this project is a little bit older and was installed from Drupal Composer Drupal project, it has this Webflow stuff that some of it, so it has this. So I think I can just do, does this have a newer release? I can upgrade it at the same time. Let's see. Releases. It has 8.9.0. I don't see a 9.0.0 though. Hopefully, if anybody on the live stream can help me out quickly, that would be, if you have seen this before. So this is the fun problem you get in with Composer, where you start realizing that you're going to spend a little more time on it than you expected. I don't know if there's a newer version of it that I can upgrade to. Yes, well, I can't even say that word. Something about something ninja says I can search history. Yeah, I could do that too, instead of just going up, 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 up forever. Especially if you keep going up and you had a password in there somewhere, which you shouldn't do, but I wouldn't say that I would never do that. If you do that and you're pressing up, you could get to there. So Ryan is saying maybe switch to Drupal core dev. I could do that, but the problem is that Webflow require, I wonder if I can just remove this dependency, because I don't technically need it, I don't think. Composer, remove dev. Let's pop that off. This could blow things up, but that's why we're here. And that would be exciting. Maybe more people would watch the live stream. All right. Let me see if there's anything fun happening in the launch thing. So there's that Drupal Switzerland hangout that's been going on. Ooh, this is looking good. I do enjoy some good brownies. I had half a thought to get a 9 candle and buy a cupcake or something like that, but I didn't do that. That's too bad. Okay, so we removed that. This could be interesting because it removed a lot of other things, and I might need some of these things. But let's try doing the upgrade now and see what happens. So far, it's not exploding. And at some point, if this does not work out, then this live stream will be the first live stream to fail upgrading Drupal 9. And that would be interesting for sure, but let's see. Oh, why is it trying to do 8.4.x? Oh, let's see. So it doesn't want to install any of the, it doesn't want to install RC1. Huh. Let's see. Devel. So Devel, I wonder if Devel could be the issue. I don't really need it right now. Let's see. Drupal, so it knows that it needs 9.0.0, like RC1 type thing. Devel, oh, is the Devel locked? No? Well, it's locked at 2.1. Is the problem, let's see. Drupal core, Devel requires 8.0. Okay, so I wonder if the problem is Devel needs an upgrade. So let's, whoops, I just clicked the wrong thing. Okay, Devel, I'm going to upgrade it. Composer upgrade. I should have done with dependencies. With dependencies. And it's a dev. I don't think the position of that argument matters. Let's try that. Yeah, dev packages are installed. by default now, whatever. Anyways, let's see what happens. Okay, so it upgraded that. Let me also update this in case there's an update for it. Develop PHP. Was it flagged? Oh, so Oliver is asking about, was Devel flagged in upgrade status? It would have been probably, if you might remember, I don't have it up anymore. It would have been it would have probably flagged this because I didn't check the Devel module when I was doing the upgrade status check. It was uninstalled, so it didn't automatically pick it up. Also, this is a good chance to say there are 35 packages I'm using looking for funding. I have another video on my YouTube channel asking for people to donate to any open source project, any open source contributor, make somebody's life happier for a day, give them a shout out on Twitter, whatever, because it is good for the open source community to share, especially in the fact that you often might make an entire career and living off of something and using other people's software. So try to give back if you can. And again, it's not for me, it's for, like, I want other people to get, whether it's $1 or $10, or if you have millions of dollars, shoot $1 million or something and make them happy for 10 years. But whatever it is, help out an open source contributor, especially anybody that's helping with Drupal making this process better. So I just updated Devel, and now it shouldn't be blocking Drupal core. We'll see if that's the case. And again, I did that Webflow thing. I removed it, so the required dev, that could blow up a lot of things. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so now what are we saying? Devel 2.1 is still, so Devel 2.1. I wonder if Devel 2, let me check on drupal.org/project/Devel, not Devel. I wonder if it, how do you move the cursor so fast in terminal? That's something in my dot files, so Geerling guy dot files. In my dot files, I forget what setting it is. I think it's somewhere in this .osx file. There's a configuration for the speed of key repeat rate. And if you go into your system preferences on a Mac and go to keyboard, you can only set a specific rate on here. And you'll notice that it's not even as fast as it can be. You can, in software, through a configuration in the macOS system, you can set this way higher. And I like that because a lot of times I'm like, I type a lot of stuff and then I want to delete it right away and it goes really fast. So anyway, that's that. Devel has, so there's a beta that requires Drupal 8. I wonder if Devel's just not compatible yet. Drupal 9, readiness and compatibility Devel. What is this? Drupal Spoons. Oh, Drupal Spoons is that, I forget who set this up, but it's a way to do issues here. It looks like things might be having issues in Devel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the module because I technically don't need it to do any work on this right now, and I'll just wait until it's ready for Drupal 9. So I'm going to composer, remove, dev, that, and develop PHP. I'll make my code base slightly lighter as a result. All right. Oh, and thank you very much, Ganselo. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but thank you very much for contributing a little bit to me. Helps me make these videos. Okay, so it removed those two. Now let's try requiring Drupal core. Always fun. All right. We shall see. And now what is it saying? Symfony CMF routing. What is satisfiable by those? Don't install routing 1.4.1. Why? So what's the issue here? Something about routing, which might be from something else in here. Is there something else that could be holding it back? Drupal Finder. What is this thing anyways? I've seen it on some projects. Drupal Finder. It locates Drupal at an installation path. I'm guessing this isn't the issue. But what could it be? Try removing the lock file. Yeah. At this point, like I said, it's in Git, so what's the worst that could happen? Let me try doing that. I'm gonna set this to 9.0 in here, and I'm going to remove the lock file. This is something I don't generally enjoy doing, but when you're doing a major operation like this, it's not the end of the world to do it, as long as you're using Git and you're using sane deployment practices. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to delete the vendor directory. Something interesting that I found out, I have a blog post on this. It's actually not listed in here because I have it hidden from Sublime, along with node modules, so that I don't see millions of files in there. But it is in the directory here. You can see there's a vendor directory. So I'm going to remove that directory. If you don't remove the vendor directory and you're doing Composer stuff and things fail, sometimes it's because Composer 2 should fix this bug. Composer 1 will look in your vendor directory instead of your lock file. That was an interesting discovery I made last week. rm-rf vendor. Let's see if that'll do it. Composer install. Let's see if we can install this set of packages and see if it actually works. Yeah, there should be a way to do the upgrade entirely with Composer, preserving your lock file. The thing is that usually it requires an incantation that would take me a couple hours to figure out. So when I do figure that out, I'll blog about it, and then in the future you can search it on Google. But this is probably the first Drupal 9 upgrade that I'll do for a while, and the only one that I'll do until I get time to finish upgrading modules for my personal site. But ideally that process will be very quick. I keep getting tempted. You might notice my mouse hovers down here. I see that little one, and I know somebody texted me in the past hour, and I really want to see who it is. But I also don't want to potentially reveal any private information, so I can't, and I probably should figure out a way just to hide the doc during my live streams, because as I remember from that first interaction with WebChick, you could say ice cream or kittens, and she would be distracted immediately. I think that this little icon with the little notification there is the same way for me. All right. I also need to check really quick. I know in St. Louis we have a severe thunderstorm watch. So this little storm up here, I'm down in the St. Louis area here. This thunderstorm has been approaching today, but it looks like it might be going the other way. Yeah, it's going to come this way, but you never know. This line here might spew out some more storms, or, well, it looks like this guy's going down. Anyway, if I weren't doing Drupal, I would definitely want to be a meteorologist. Option Command D. I don't know what that was in reference to. My live stream might be way delayed or something, but I just saw Oliver. Oh, hides the doc. Yeah, that is, I always forget oh, there you go. Okay. Less distractions. More work. Wait, I don't necessarily want to do more work. I want to have more fun too. All right, let's see. What is this doing? I guess it's, at this point, it has to rebuild the entire tree of knowledge that it is based on. So it's going to take a little while. So while it's doing that, let me... Ooh, somebody says 9.0.0 is out. Let me go over here and see if it's showing up on the releases page. Let me close that. Did I just close the page? No. Okay. Releases. There it is. Ta-da! I set up a special thing just for this. Boom! Confetti. Drupal 9 has been released. And I will switch to the other one. And now you can see the beautiful Drupal banner. Drupal 9 is here in the middle of the live stream. And that might also be why it's like locking up my poor, where did I go? My poor computer doing this Composer operation. Maybe it was installing Drupal 9 RC, and then it came back and then it was 9.0.0. Shouldn't do that because that's not how Composer works, but we'll see. I will also put a little emoji in the live chat. Let's see. Google has some emoji in here. What kind of emoji do they have? No, that's a face palm. That would not be appropriate. And there's like a medical heart. Do they have anything like celebration? Let's see. Here, food. No, not food. Nature, people. I don't know how this all works. I'm not seeing any of the symbols, so I'll just type in an emoji. Let's see. Celebration. There's the ta-da thing, or I don't know what it's called. And I can't even type it. I don't know why this is not letting me type this. There we go. Okay, that was a lot of work just to put a little celebratory emoji. I mean, Composer's got to be doing something. Processes, OBS is using 400%, so 4 CPU cores right now. PHP is doing something. It's 100%, so it's using up a whole CPU core. So it's not doing anything, that's for sure. I don't know what VDC Assistant is. But now it's gone and, oh, no, it's back. Docker was doing a little bit of work there for a second. It'd be cool if Composer could use multiple CPU cores, because it's either RAM constrained or CPU constrained all the time when it's building its dependency graph. And I'm going to blame this on, who was it that suggested I delete the lock file? Let's see. Ryan Aslet. So sorry, I don't know how to pronounce anyone's names. Anyway, I'll blame it on you, but just in jest, because it is probably the right thing to do. It's just taking absolutely forever. And yes, I echo Oliver. Good job to everyone who was involved in the release. It is awesome. Oh, Mixologic. I didn't even realize. So now I remember the connection. But yeah, so half of the people on Drupal.org. I know you're like web chick. I didn't know that her name was Angie Byron until a few years ago, when I finally met her in person, and then when I worked at Acquia for a short time. But I know people by what is it called? Your avatar? No, that's the picture. Your username / identity or whatever. But anyway, what is going on? Seriously. See, if I were recording this video, this is the downside of doing a live stream with anything related to Drupal. If I was doing a recording, what I would do at this point is I would go do something else and let the computer keep recording the screen. And later on, I would just speed it up and have it be like 20 times faster or something. And right here, I just have to kind of find ways to do filler, and I'm not a stand-up comedian, although sometimes it's just funny the way I talk. So I don't know how to fill in the space sometimes. So your nick, yes, or handle. There you go. Anyway, if somebody has a good joke you could post in the live chat, that'd be great. I'll convey it to anybody watching this video, because this is just taking forever. I mean, it is Drupal 9, but it's not that big of a change. I mean, technically I could just download Drupal 9 and replace all the files by hand and then commit the vendor directory. That might be faster than whatever operation is happening here. And I'm not with that attitude. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I don't have that Composer. Oh, look at that. It got added. I didn't have it a few minutes ago, and now it's in there. So maybe it definitely is doing something. Let's see. Git status. Git diff. So it is writing some stuff. So I upgraded that. Actually, no, so it already had that. So it must have been from a previous upgrade. This is in there. The Drupal optimizations. What am I doing? Quit. Okay. Back over here. Turn it on and off again. I'm slightly considering doing that. The only problem is if this is, it hasn't written the lock file. It hasn't gotten everything yet. I wonder if maybe I hit a fun little race condition where I was doing it while Drupal core was hitting packagist and it screwed something up. I don't know. Because it's never taken this long. Like, you could set up a new project and it wouldn't take this long. I am going to, unless somebody objects in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to Control-C this, stop it, and try again. Because I don't want to spend another hour doing this. And I know Oliver, it's probably like 11 p.m. at this point. You don't want to stay up all night. I could do it. Well, let's see. I could try a new tab, eat up another CPU core, and try doing it there. Oh, thank you very much, Joseph. I'm glad that you are benefiting from them. Oh, and try with more verbosity. Let's do that. I'm just going to Control-C this. I'm not going to do 2 tabs because that might result in worse things. Add a little more verbosity so that we can see what's going on. And since 9.0.0 is out, I can do that. And let's see what happens here. All right. This is nice. I should have done that. With any big operation, it's a good idea to see what's actually going on. So reading a bunch of things from cache, and is it going to keep doing anything? Let's see. Okay, something's changed. Well, that's fun. And I forget what SAT, something, I forget what that is. I remember one time I was digging deeply into Composer's bowels, and I remember seeing that term. Let's see, SAT Composer. I don't like that this is doing lots and lots of passes because that seems to indicate something might not be working. Let me actually look this up because maybe we need to change something else. Something's changed. Looking through all the rules again. This looks a lot like something is stuck in a loop, and that was what was happening before, and that's why it never went through. So this person said it actually worked after a while. And this laptop is pretty fast. It's an i9. I don't want to open up about this Mac because that shows the serial number, but it's an i9 2.4 gigahertz or something like that. You can see up here it has 8 threads, or 8 CPU cores, which is very nice for when you're live streaming. And PHP is definitely using up a full CPU core doing all these rule passes. Let's see. Any other tips in here? I don't have anything in required dev, and maybe something else in here is killing Drupal core. Composer patches shouldn't be. Drupal scaffold, I wonder if it could be. The problem is that that's kind of like the thing that sets everything up. So I don't know if I want to mess with that. Welcome to the fun world of Composer in Drupal. Drupal scaffold. Let's see if there's any issues open on it. These are all pretty old issues. Looks like I might be the first person to upgrade a site that used Drupal scaffold to Drupal 9. And what I'm gonna do, well, I don't know, should I let this go for another minute or so, or should I? Looks like it's gonna, yeah, I could try switching to core scaffold. So is that just Drupal / core scaffold? Packages. Drupal / core, so let's see, scaffold. What is it? Drupal core composer scaffold, is that it? And looks like it has a 9.0.0. Let's try it out and see what happens. Whoops. I'm gonna cancel this. Change to that at 9.0. Should be. Yep. All right. Let's try this again and see if it. Oh, what is this here? Require Drupal core composer. What did I do? Oh, goodness. Nope, that's not right. That is not going to work. Let's try this again. The Drupal composer ones are. Wait, which one is the one that I was using was deprecated? Is that what you're saying, Oliver? I presume. You're saying the Drupal Composer ones are deprecated. I think, yeah, the ones from the GitHub project, and I never converted this project from those to the Drupal core scaffold, and that is the reason why I'm running into this. All right. And you're saying there might not even be a Drupal 9 compatible version of that core scaffold. So this is making me nervous again because I'm hitting this rules issue. Is there anything else that I would need to change besides that to get this installable? What the Drupal Finder, I thought I looked this up, but I just want to see, is there anything in here that would conflict with Drupal core? So it's just using PHP unit. And it's adding that class map. That shouldn't cause a problem with the composer install. I do want to check if I change this to 8.8 and this to 8.8 and try this out again, is this going to do the same thing or will it work? Just to see if Drupal 8 will install this way, which would indicate, if it does, then that indicates something else is blocking me from the Drupal 9 install. Is there anything else down here that could be funny? These things, I don't know if I might want to take these out. Let's see. Well, this is actually working, so there is something else blocking the Drupal 9 install. Web core, that's good. There's a patch for default content. So this is working to install 8.9.0. So why will it not install 9.0? After it installs, I'm going to reinstall the site, or I'm going to, I guess I'll just check the site if it's still running up here. Is there anything else fun here? Okay, so if I go to localhost right now, it's going to be quite broken, which you can see it is, giving me the white screen of death because it's missing half of the things in the code base that it needs to run. And for some reason, my windows all got rearranged again. Yeah, and I can't pronounce your name. The person who ends with ninja says I could run composer prohibits. So it just created the files. Let's see if this is working with 8.9.0. It did something. You can see it took a little longer to load. So there's still a white screen of death, probably because I just changed out a bunch of stuff behind Drupal's back. But it did install. So I'm going to rm-rf vendor again. And I'm going to change these back to 9.0. And remove the composer.lock file. Save this. And then I'm going to try this. I'll see what it does. I don't know if it does anything without a lock file. Prohibits Drupal core 9.0.0. DOS Jinja Ninja. DOS Jinja Ninja. Yeah. It's still a little bit hard. I don't know why my brain is just not checking that out. Drupal core. Well, yeah. So I think the problem is that you have to have a valid lock file before it can start doing composer prohibits, because it's not gonna find the lock file. So what could it be? Let's see. It's not Drush. I don't think it's that. Drupal Finder is one thing it could potentially be. I don't think Drupal Finder is needed anymore. Let me look up convert from Drupal project, Drupal composer to Drupal core recommended or something like that. Recommender. Let's see. Drupal project composer template. I wonder if there's a little bit of documentation that maybe I'm missing on their README file. Let's see. So there's nothing. What does this say? That's not helpful. Something media current has a page on it, so I'll look for that in a second. Upgrade instructions. Oh, somebody did check this out. Yeah, so this is the same problem here. FYI, I've had this issue as well on my live stream, and I'll link over to this issue, because one thing that I like to do whenever I'm debugging a problem is if I find someone else that has the same problem, instead of saying, he has the same problem and then leaving him in the dust, I usually link together any issue that I'm working on with something that could be related, just so that they can look when they come back to GitHub later. Let's see. And the problem is, I'm going to post on here during the live stream while trying to upgrade. I deleted the composer.lock file in vendor directory, then updated dependencies. What was this? And to 9.0, and tried running composer install. Didn't seem to work. I was using the project, so maybe there's some cruft left over from that. Battery on battery on one of my lights might die during this live stream. I've never gone this late. Let's see. So Anders Green says, I'm up. What version am I upgrading from? This is currently running, and I can't show you because it's broken, because we broke it right now. It's currently running on Drupal 8.8.6. 8.8.7 just came out today, so I haven't upgraded to that yet. And 8.9.0 also came out today. So anyway, I wanted to put that in there because if whoever that was comes back to this issue, whoops, this was the wrong thing. I'm going to delete this one. Oops, I was in the wrong issue there. Put that note in my issue queue. All right, so we're still trying to do that. What else? So media current, let's see, media current Drupal project, Drupal composer, something like that. I'm trying to see. Problem is site. Nope. I don't know if anybody else knows of a good article that maybe we're missing something. The problem here, I mean, I could upgrade from 8.8.6 to 8.9.0 and then try, but I think I'm going to run into the same thing. There's something in here that seems to be conflicting. I'm going to just pop this out of here. Well, I can't do that because this is a this is a JSON file and that'll blow it up. I'm going to delete that line and see if this helps. I'm also going to just check this. Oh, what is this path util? Let me check that too. I don't think that this would have any conflict. No, that shouldn't cause any problem. And let me check this guy too. See if there's anything in here that looks like it would cause a conflict. No. Okay. so let's see. There doesn't seem to be anything else in here that would be causing this problem. Let's see what it does this time. I removed the finder, the Drupal finder. And now it's going back to looking at all the rules again. I'm going to put a note in here just for future Googleability. That's another thing I like to do whenever I'm doing my debugging, is put messages in here that would help me search for this. If it happens again, the worst thing is if I do this again a year from now and the same thing happens again, if I have to go through all this process again, that would be horrible. So I put these things in here so that I can search for this and at least see what's happening in the future. And if I do ever figure out a solution, I can do that. Let's see. So composer output this and got stuck in a loop, it seems. Update. Okay, somebody, oh, I do have Drupal console. I didn't realize I had this project on here. That could be causing an issue. Maybe, maybe not. I haven't updated that in a while. Let me just remove it because I don't need it. I'm using Drush on this. See what happens. Ryan is saying, yeah, when Composer hits one of those issues, it usually means it got a whole bunch of close but not quite perfect solutions to the dependency graph. And yeah, basically Composer just sits there spinning through a giant tree of dependencies trying to figure out a way to make it work. And sometimes it's just impossible, and it could take it forever to figure that out. It's I don't envy people who I really don't envy people who work on dependency resolution tools like Composer or Ansible Galaxy or NPM. Those things are not fun to work with. Yeah, they can be fun sometimes, I guess, but they're not super easy, that's for sure. Hey, look, it did it. So it might have been Drupal console. That could have been it. We'll see. And then I also want to put back, in that case, Drupal Finder. And then remove Drupal console. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to cancel this. And I'm going to remove vendor. And I'm going to remove the lock file. I guess it wasn't there. And we'll try this again and see if that works. All right. So now you're finally seeing in real time. So this is what any time that you do a major Drupal upgrade, there's often an issue like this. I manage a ton of different sites, so on a lot of them there's no problems. But there's always one site in every upgrade cycle where there's just something that happens and you find out that there's a package that is causing an issue, or some configuration you have that's causing an issue. It's kind of annoying, but part of it is the growing pain of the Drupal community using Composer with a project that has a lot of parts of it that are still not like Composer first or package first in that kind of way. So as time goes on, it's been getting better. In the past, it was almost impossible to figure out something. Nowadays, it's mostly possible. And as you can see, this was a little bit of guesswork. There's probably another way that we could have figured that out using Composer's built-in CLI, but picking and choosing things to delete also kind of worked here, so whatever. So Finder's used for post-install and post-update. Yeah, I think that these things are coming from there. And it creates files in the htaccess file. Actually, it excludes that one, apparently. I guess I have a custom one for the site, and create some other files in the directory. Anyway, let's see if this works. We'll have a new code base, and this will probably white screen a death here. We'll see if that's still happening once this finishes. Okay, it finished, and it wrote, let's see, it created required files. Didn't have an error there, so we'll see if that's good. Unexpected error. What I'm going to do is try reinstalling the site. So going through my checklist up here, I did the upgrade, and I'll do that later. I'll pull that down. And I don't want to export configuration. Well, actually, so here's the weird thing. I do want to upgrade this existing site and then export to configuration. So I'm going to try doing drush, what is it? Docker compose exec Drupal bash -c drush cr. Maybe. We'll see what happens. And let's see. It's trying to auto-load bootstrap.php. That might be, what else have we, git diff composer.json. I wonder if Drupal scaffold had something in it that was required. Or drush cc drush. I can't do that either. So why is this happening now? It's trying to open this. Is that even in here? Polyfill PHP. Polyfill PHP 7. Oh, whoops. PHP 7. Oh, it's not even installing that. So this is weird. This looks like it's coming from Symfony console. And it does install polyfill PHP 7.3, which is here, but it's not installing 7.0. Why is it trying to use polyfill PHP 7.0? Now we're hitting some limits of my internals knowledge on how this is all working together. Let's see. Is there something in here about polyfill? No. Scripts composer, I wonder if there's something in here. Script handler, polyfill, no. This is doing some stuff though. I don't know exactly what it's doing. I don't think this is required for the Drupal setup. Let's see, load.environment.php. Is that in here somewhere? Load.environment. That's for .environment. That's not. Doesn't seem like that's going to cause an issue. And then auto load class map. I'm going to try this out and just see what happens. Probably going to blow something up, but we'll see. Yeah, no, that's not going to help anything. I might need to do that and do a composer install or something. Anybody on the live stream help me out? Why would this be using this version of polyfill? Vendor composer autoload real. Let me look at that. Sublime vendor composer autoload. So it has all these mappings correct. Autoload real. It's generated by composer and it's using classloader.php, which is here. Polyfill. I don't even know where it's coming from there. Let me search in here, find in folder, polyfill. PHP 7.0. I don't even see it in there. So where is this coming from? Why is it picking this up? Yeah, I mean, composer why not is not going to help at this point. Yeah, and let me delete the vendor directory. Vendor, although it just installed a fresh copy a second ago. All those things just went away. Let me try composer install now. That should just install everything. So it's installing polyfill PHP 7.3 and 7.2 because it found those requirements somewhere. And here comes Drupal core. And at some point I'm going to have to stop because I know my wife is going to be like, hey, dinner's ready. And then that would be sad because I wanted to get the site all upgraded to Drupal 9. And we'll see if that actually can happen. or if it will keep exploding with this polyfill PHP 7 thing that I have no clue where it's even coming from. I'm gonna just do a search in the full code base, polyfill PHP 7.0. There's nothing in here. So it's not coming from the code base. It's something with the autoloader. When it generates the autoloader files, is there anything else in here that looks weird? Nothing there. Refresh that. And let's try that drush command again. All right, well, and then someone's saying try composer, why? So it's not in there. I mean, that's the weird thing is like, I don't see anything in the lock file even that's calling for polyfill PHP 7.0. There's something that calls for 7.3, and 7.0 is not installed in the vendor directory. I could try, yeah, Alex Knoll. Hey, Alex, it's been a long time since I've seen you. I hope that, I hope you're doing well. Try adding it manually. I mean, I'll try it, I guess. That might blow things up too. We'll see. Composer, require that. The thing is, like, where is that coming from? This is one thing that mystifies me sometimes about, mystifies me sometimes about everything I do with composers. Sometimes you don't really know why something's happening, and then you figure out a solution, and then you figure out that you figure out a way for it to work, but in the end you're still like, I don't know what happened there. I don't know why that worked. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Now it's not auto-loadable. It was before, but that could be something from that other project. So I probably should have, before this all started, I probably should have switched my thing over to using the core recommended or something like that. Let's see. So I want to try clearing Drush's cache. This might not work. What, are you serious? Now it's trying to get the PHP 5.6 version. This is ridiculous. I mean, what? Okay, if I require that. So if I require this, maybe it's going to ask for PHP 5.4 next, and we're just going to keep going back until it's like back to PHP 5.2 or something. So, I mean, this is probably causing an issue there. Pre-update command. I mean, I don't really need to check composer version right here. Create required files. It's not going to work, but that shouldn't cause a problem with auto-loading. That is weird. Okay, well, now what's it saying? Drupal core functions.php. Okay. Sublime vendor. I didn't want to have to end the stream before it got upgraded, but we might have to do that. Drupal console core. Why is it trying to get what? Console's not in here. You know what? I wonder if console got stuck, jammed in here somehow because I was messing with this file. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna rm-rf vendor rm-f composer.lock. I removed those things. There's no console in here. Okay, nothing with Drupal console. Let's try this again. Composer install with verbosity. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. I still have Drupal console. Ryan is Mixologic is saying somehow it has persisted. It is proving difficult to remove it from this project. So let's see if this there's no console anywhere in here. Console. There's nothing. There's nothing that depends on console that I can see. This should probably be PHP 7.3 at this point because I'm going to be, I think Drupal 9 requires 7.3 or later. Let's see. And also let me, I do need to text my wife and make sure that I stay in her good graces if she has dinner ready. All right. Hopefully you didn't see what I texted her. Anyway, let's see. Installing Drupal core. So if someone else is creating a brand new Drupal site and sticking it on the Raspberry Pi just to say that they were the first person to get Drupal 9 running on a Raspberry Pi, then kudos to you, I'd say, first of all, but also you still are not the first person to upgrade a Drupal 8 site to Drupal 9 on a Raspberry Pi. Yeah, technically it's not on a Raspberry Pi. Okay, so let's see, this is, okay. Let's see what happens if I refresh the page. White screen of death. Let's try clearing Drush's cache. And we're back to this. What on earth? Seriously. 5, 6. I'm gonna add those. It's gonna come up with Drupal console again. How is this even possible? How? Composer show -t is being recommended. Let's see. Holy cow. Okay, let's. I'm gonna do that. PB copy. It's not fun to scroll in a terminal for this. Make a new window. Make this a little bigger so you can see. Let's see what we got. Console. So there's Pair console, Symphony console, Symphony console. That's Symphony console, Symphony console. So that's it. There's no instance of Drupal console in there. Okay. Oh, let me go back over to the other window and try this again. And what do we got? Event. So this is different. That's good. But why? Why is it different? Event dispatcher interface. It's not in Symfony Event Dispatcher. So again, why are we hitting this? So I got those two in there. I'm just gonna, sometimes you just Google it and you get lucky. It's not gonna be this time. No. Maybe this. No, declaration must be compatible. What version of PHP? So I'm on 3.8, and in the Docker container, I am, I think also, oh, so the Docker container's on PHP 7.4. Now this is interesting. What I'm gonna do, so here's the fun thing about PHP 7.4. A lot of things are not entirely compatible, and maybe that's causing an issue here. So I'm gonna run these commands again. I'm gonna delete the composer lock file, rm-rf vendor. I'm going to delete it using PHP 7.3 here. Replace. I don't have anything in my composer.json file for replace for the polyfills. But I can look into that. I don't think that's the issue. I think that's a symptom. So I'm going to remove the vendor file, and then I'm going to run composer install inside the Docker container. And see, maybe that'll give a difference. I mean, Drupal, Oliver's mentioning his 8.8 site is running fine on 7.4, and I have no doubt about that. I mean, Drupal should be running fine on 7.4, but I have noticed every once in a while there's a weird issue when you're installing things in Composer. You have a Composer script that is not necessarily tested under the latest version of PHP, and it behaves differently there. Maybe we're running into that. We'll see. It's going to try doing the Composer install inside the container. And yeah, and Ryan's mentioning if you do the install on 7.3 and then running the site on 7.4, it can cause a difference. 98% of the time it doesn't, but I might have run into one of the 1% of times that it does, and that could be the issue here. It's just one of those fun annoyances. I mean, technically that's on me because I should run the same version of PHP that I'm running on my production site in the environment that I do the Composer commands. However, I still run PHP 7.3 a lot of places. So I'm only doing 7.4 here because I just upgraded all of the Raspberry Pi infrastructure to use 7.4 because it was easier to use Andrej Suri's, I totally butchered that name. His repos have a lot better support in PHP 7.4 than 7.3 right now because of a couple weird dependency resolution bugs. Again, a lot of respect for people who deal with dependency resolution in apt repositories and things like that, because it is not fun and not easy, especially if you want it to magically work all the time. But yes, technically I have a consistent environment. This Docker container that I'm running this in is the same container that I will be pushing to the Raspberry Pi. It's going to rebuild the container on the Pi so that it has the full ARM architecture build. But anyway, it's better to run the composer commands inside of there. Or most of the time, it doesn't cause an issue to not do it. And in the past, I always did it on my Mac instead of in the Docker container because it was so incredibly slow to run it through Docker in a shared volume. But with Mutagen, that's not a big issue because it's the same speed now. But this is probably a little. You can see, holy cow. Let's see, my CPU is using, I don't have the number here, but OBS is up to 600%, so using 6 cores. Docker's using 3 cores. That's a lot of, well, it's a percent, whatever the cores are in hyper-threading and turbo boosting and whatever things Intel calls it these days. That's a lot of CPU. And if the stream is lagging for you, I'm very sorry. And Das Ninja, I think that's getting better. Wrote Vagrant Mutagen, so it would be cool to have that built into Vagrant 2 to have kind of a consistent way to do it between both Vagrant and Docker. Someone is asking, Peter Vanden Heuvel, sorry, terrible with names. What are your thoughts on Lando? I didn't talk about it on a live stream, but we had a session talking about the Drupal. While it's doing this, I can go ahead and open it. jeffgeerling.com, Drupal developer survey. We did a Drupal developer survey. We've been doing this every year. And the results this year were interesting. Lando, that's location. Lando has kind of taken a more substantial lead over all the other utilities out there. Although I would say that Docker and Doxel have both been increasing. DDEV doubled the amount of people that are using it year over year. And these numbers are all proportional. So the raw number for 2019 is actually a little higher than this, but all the numbers were reduced to make it more consistent year over year. But anyway, Lando is extremely popular, and it's a good utility. One reason why I don't use it for my personal projects is some of my personal projects, like this site, I get to maybe once a year or twice a year. I do a Drupal upgrade here and there, but to actually work on the site, I only do things every now and then. So if you use something like Lando or DDEV or something where the major versions require a lot of changes, every time I use the local environment, I'd have to make those changes, and I don't want to have to do those kind of updates in addition to the Drupal updates. If I were doing a project day to day, I would be all over one of these tools. I like DDEV a little bit more just in architecture, but Lando's great, Doxel's great, and I know most of the maintainers that work on these things, and they do a really good job too. And Oliver mentions, hopefully we'll have an official-ish development environment for Drupal someday. And yeah, I mean, if you're in Laravel, you use Homestead, and there, if you have one environment, there's a lot less. I wouldn't call it competition because it's not like I maintain Drupal VM, and I'm not directly competing against some of the other ones, but the time that I spend working on Drupal VM issues is time that I couldn't spend working on a centralized tool, and vice versa for any other tool that's being used. Yeah, so I mean, Lando is kind of the de facto. Most people are using it across worldwide at this point, but it's still not a majority of Drupal users. It's still a minority for any one given tool. Almost probably 60% or so are using 60 or 70% are using a Docker-based tool, and I'm just using raw Docker, using a Docker Compose file for this environment. JetBrains, VS Code. One thing that's nice is some of these tools like Lando and like I maintain Drupal VM, there's a lot of Drupal specific things that help a ton. Like if you're setting up a Solr search integration, if you're doing Varnish, if you're doing other things like that, it takes a ton of time to integrate it with a more generic solution like VS Code dev containers and things. Or you just kind of add a little configuration or run one command and you have it all out of the box with one of the Drupal specific tools. So that is one thing where the Drupal tools do give you a lot more happiness. Oh, come on. And you're asking if I'm using NFS for the Docker setup. Let's see what I'm using. I don't remember what this one is. It's been a while since I've used this. So it's just using cached. Delegated defaults to cached. Delegated and cached are the same. So this is like 4 times slower than, probably 5 or 6 times slower. I should really be using mutagen with the Docker Edge support that I have. If you use a Docker environment and you haven't tried it yet, Docker Edge mutagen, I think I have a link to it from my personal code base here. There's a link to this issue. I wrote up a little guide on how to do it in the issue. If I go to Gearling Guy somewhere down here, because it's way faster for Drupal. Here it is. So I'll pop this link into the live chat, but you can see that the mutagen performance is basically native performance for all Drupal things. Way, way faster than cached and a bit faster than NFS even. So, and I'm using cached on this, and that's why it's taking forever to do this composer command, of course. So let me post this link in here. Whoops, what? Apparently the emoji chooser is stuck open on my screen. I don't know how to get rid of it. Go away. Oh, there we go. There was a keyboard button. Okay. There's the issue. So super fast. Hey, we got that. Extracting. Okay, everything's good here. So far, so good. Drupal core has a lot of files in it. That's why that took forever. Not quite forever. I mean, a few minutes is not forever. Let me check if, let's see. All right, and if this does not work, then I am going to have to call it a day. If it does work, I'm going to take a couple more minutes, and I'll be a couple minutes late to dinner, but it's worth it to get it working. But if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to call it a day for now. Investigate what's going on. Is your wife already mad? She's not mad. No, she understands it's Drupal 9 launch day. I mean, she saw that I had. Let me switch back to the. She saw that I had the little Drupal 9 banner up there. Oh wow! Apparently I have frame drops from OBS itself, so hopefully you're able to see me still. The fact that you're replying to some of my comments means you probably are. But thank you, Dasginja Ninja. There you go. I married my wife because she's awesome. But she is also someone who is not prone to be so public and YouTubey and stuff, so she does not appear on these live streams. Let's see. So it did this, and it actually executed these commands. Let's see what happened. It's been so long since we kicked that off that I don't even remember exactly what I did. Oh, I ran it from inside the container. All right, so, oh, great. Okay, here we go. Refresh. Let's see what happens this time. It's doing something. Something is better than nothing. You can see the little blue loading line is doing something, and the processors are now at like 8 million%, which means my live stream is probably another minute delayed, something like that. Let me see. You guys can see me still, I hope. Okay, still coming through fine. Good. Excellent connection, it says. It's just, hey, this actually is working. Let's see if it says Drupal 9. That would be a miracle, as they say. I mean, it says it's Drupal 9, so of course it's Drupal 9. 3 errors, out of date, so that's good. Drupal 9, so this is working. And, okay, so we might, this is kind of annoying. Hopefully I won't have to re-export all the content, but what I'm gonna do is drush vendor bin drush updb-y. Let's see, I actually have the drush launcher installed inside the container, so I don't have to do vendor bin. Then I'm gonna run the database updates. We'll see what happens. And I might have to re-export the content. Thank you. Oh, here, I have the confetti out. Let me go to the confetti. And it's not there. There it is. Oh, wow, that's really slow. The confetti is like, because Composer has, at this point, I think, taken over the computer entirely. I don't know if you can see that, but the confetti is going extremely slow. And I'm still not going extremely slow. I think that my computer has pretty much had it with this live stream. So let's go back to the screen share. I think the other problem is with OBS, with the way it uses the cameras, it's actually this other camera that's over here. If I show you this camera, oh wow, the delay on this is terrible. This camera is on at all times, as well as the other camera, which is over here, and both of them are, this one is outputting 60 frames per second 1080p. That one's doing 30 frames per second 1080p. And that's a lot of data, and including the 4K monitor that is being downscaled to 1080p. So yeah, I'm like the Flash with the confetti. Let's do it again and make the processor suffer some more. This is a good argument for having a cloud-based development environment if you're live streaming, because you don't run into this issue. But yeah, that is incredibly slow. All right, let's go back here. So it's doing all these updates. It looks like uninstall simple test. Apparently I had it installed. I don't know. Oh, these are just updates. It might not have to do it, but it will uninstall it if it is installed. Okay, so it's finished performing updates. Refresh. Let's see what else we got. All right. Loading. I think OBS must have a race condition too, because it's using now 623% of the CPU. Because it shouldn't, at the beginning it was only doing like 200 or 300%, which is still an insane amount of CPU, but at this point it's basically beating my CPU into a dead pulp. All right, so Drupal 9, this is the only error. It looks like everything is good here. I'm gonna export configuration and see if that works. Config export. We'll see how this goes. Destinja Ninja is saying that when he does iRacing with OBS, it does that. I've considered, there's a few other flavors of streaming software out there, and I've considered using a couple. It's not usually that bad if you do an hour-long live stream, but this is the longest live stream I've done so far, and it seems like the CPU just keeps going up and up. So at some point, even if I don't stop this, it's going to stop me. All right, so git status. Oh boy. All right, why is it installing? I should not have a modules directory in the main folder. That's not right. What is in there? Modules? Well, that's weird. Let me just remove those. I'm gonna act like those don't exist. Modules, profiles, sites, themes. I'm guessing that's related to the Webflow Finder or something like that. But I'll probably need to do a little cleanup work with these things because I kind of just slapped things around until it worked, and that's not always the best way to do it. But git status, git diff. Okay, so it added some things here. Git status. I'm going to check the differences in here. I don't know what that is, but it looks okay to me, I guess. Git add, git status. I'm on the Drupal 9 branch. Git commit -m issue number 29 upgrade to Drupal 9. I can't do the exclamation point because that'll cause issues unless I escape it, so I'm not going to do it. Upgraded Drupal 9 unenthusiastically. Git push that up, and let's see. The next step is, so this is where things could go off the rails, and if it does, then I'm not going to continue. I'm going to try reinstalling the site and make sure that it actually works. So I'm going to go up here to the install command, just using drush. And we're going to see if the site looks the same after reinstalling it. Web root for the scaffold. Oh, I guess for the Drupal core composer scaffold, it needs a web root defined. Maybe. Web root. Somewhere in here. I don't know where that setting is. Yeah. Yeah, I'll figure that out later. Oh, here, Drupal scaffold locations web root. Okay, so I do need to do this extra Drupal scaffold. Okay, locations web root /web and comma. Save that. Okay. So that should be good. Save that. It's reinstalling. Thank you for the help in the live stream. And there's now, I think it's about a 30-second delay, which is how it was with my super old laptop, which it looked like this when you started the live stream. So by the end of it, it was dying. Anyway, because of that, everything that I'm saying right now will take about 30 seconds or so before you hear it, and then you're going to respond in chat, and then it'll be like a minute later. So sorry if I'm a bit off on that. Yeah, you can also see my clock up here at 6:04. It's probably 6:05, or if you're in a different, well, now it's 6:05, so it's probably 6:06 by the time you see this, or whatever time zone you're in. That is US Central Time. So in the future, if you're ever doing live streaming like this, and somebody asked about, I don't know if it was in this live chat, I'm forgetting now because it's kind of a blur for the past few hours. Somebody asked about how I do the live streaming and how I have them set up. I actually have a little bit of a different setup since the time that I made this video, but a few weeks ago I did a video for COVID-19 because a lot of people are doing this now for remote conferences and things. I have a video called How I Live Stream with OBS, and I don't know how cards work, if I can do this many, but I'll pop it up on a card there afterwards. How I live stream with OBS on my Mac for these kind of things. Ooh, the success is green. I don't know if the success was green before in Drupal in Drush 9. All right, so we're gonna try, localhost/user. Hit that, and then the unexpected error. That's, oh, okay, it's probably just loading something since the database is going incredibly slow right now. Admin, login, cancel. The block looks good. Header looks good. Homepage looks good. Just checking around the site a little bit, making sure that everything looks good. This might be the easiest, even with all that Composer stuff. Technically that wasn't Drupal, that was Composer, but even with all that, this is the easiest Drupal version upgrade I've ever done. Which sounds like I should probably say that in a more enthusiastic way. I'm just thinking about all the times I've spent weeks on Drupal upgrades, and this one, admittedly, this is an extremely simple site, but it looks like everything's working. If I edit a page, let's make sure that that works. Come on, you can do it. So I modified that Composer JSON file. All right, so editing seems to be working. I should really change this to the Claro admin theme, or Gin. The Gin theme is pretty darn awesome. If you haven't tried it out, it has dark mode, which I love. I actually don't have dark mode for this website's theme. I should work on that sometime too. So it looks like everything is working here. Let me go to log messages, make sure there's nothing alarming there. And remember, this is local, so I haven't pushed this up yet. Yeah, so that was from a minute ago. That was probably that first load, the server probably was like, ouch, ouch, something like that. That's from the install, but I think that's fine. All right, so, and then I should have a user account for myself on here. Part of the default content installs a Gearling guy user. All right, so this is good. Add set up scaffold web root issue number 29, git push. All right, and that is going up. And the next step is, so I've validated everything locally, and I pushed this up. So I did that, exported the config, reinstalled, made sure it worked, push code and tag it. So what I'm going to do now is go to the pull request. So it's running tests. That last, if it worked on the last commit, then I don't care about this one because that was just the web root. Actually, I do kind of care. It's one of those things, you know, you should really let your CI do its job. Almost every time that I am like, yeah, the CI is going to pass, and I merge something, something blows up in my face. So I might let this run really quick. I'm sorry. It's going to add another minute or so to this process, but at least Travis CI's CPU is not, what is this now? It's not 600, 700, 800. It's not running at 900% capacity. At some point, this computer is just going to die. Although the temperature is 68, I've gotten it up to 92, actually 98 Celsius. A couple nights ago, I was doing some video editing. Yeah, that'll kill it pretty quick. All right, so this is running. I just want to make sure, so it's hitting this error still. I'll have to, actually I'm going to copy that out and add an issue for that, because I do want to make sure I fix that at some point. Composer install hits errors with scaffold. Okay, I'll fill in more details on that later. But I do want to fix that at some point. I don't have to do it right now. So it looks like that worked, the composer install. There was no problem there. So I am going to merge this even though it hasn't finished. Don't tell anybody. You can actually restrict that if you have a GitHub, if you pay for a organization on GitHub, you can protect branches to the point where you can't merge unless CI passes. You can do that, I think, with free accounts too. So I merged it, git checkout master, git pull, git branch. I can delete that gat. Oh, never mind. I'll clean up branches some other time. If you look out in my yard, there's a pile of branches too. I don't usually clean up branches except for once a year or so. I figure I give some animal a good habitat for a while. Let's see. The beast of Drupal past can live in here. So I got that. I'll do git tag 2.0.0, we'll call it. Git push tags. All right, so we have a 2.0 tag that has Drupal 9. I tagged it. Now I have, I mentioned this in an Ansible live stream earlier. I have a no-no in here. I have a password in plain text, so I'm not going to do that in, you know what? I think it might actually be up on this top screen. So hold on a second. I'm going to switch to this thing so you can look at the beautiful Drupal banner while I do something that I don't want you to see, because it's actually open on my main monitor, and it has been this whole time. And I don't want it to be there, because that would be really bad. So I'm going to close that. Luckily, it was behind everything else, and you didn't see it. But now I can come back to the screen share, because now that window's gone. So I'm going to bump the version in this other project that has my password in plain text, which is a big no-no, and I should probably fix that sometime, but I haven't, so I won't. Okay, so I'm going to bump the version on that, and I have that project open over here, Drupal Pi, and I'm going to say Ansible playbook main.yaml. And this is running on the Raspberry Pi, which is over here. I don't have, it'd be cool if I had a remote camera. I should get another camera somehow that I could grab and then show you things on my desk. Although my desk is really kind of messy right now. And there's literally like, there's a Pi, I'm over here. There's a Pi, this is the Raspberry Pi Model A. There's a compute module. I've been doing a lot of ridiculous amounts of benchmarking with Raspberry Pis, and I've been doing time-lapse photography for a couple other projects. I'm working on my workshop right now, and I'm going to do a video on that sometime soon. So I have just junk everywhere. Yeah. So, and I have my little thermal camera that I measure the Pi temperatures as I'm doing these benchmarks. Anyway, so let's see if this works. What this is going to do, this is the Drupal Pi project, which is, again, it's open source. So if I go to Drupal Pi and pop over here, this is an open source project that you can run on your own Raspberry Pi. This one was a 3 Model B Plus, I guess, but right now it's running on a Pi Model 4 with 4 gigs of RAM. And it runs an Ansible playbook that deploys this project or whatever Drupal project you have in a Docker container and builds the Docker container on the Pi. One caveat to that is if you're using a 64-bit OS on the Pi, you have to use an ARM64 build. And if you're using a 32-bit OS like Raspbian used to be, and still is if you're not using the beta, then you have to use an ARM v7 Docker container. And if you don't know any of that, it means that's okay. But the point of that is sometimes it's hard to find a good Drupal container for Raspberry Pi. So if you look under what is it, hub.docker.com/geerling_guy, not Geerling, Geerling guy, because apparently I'm a guy. Anyway, dash, oh goodness, I don't remember. Okay, so I have a Drupal container that is built. Right now it has different tags for different architectures. So there's ARM32 v7 for the older 32-bit Pi OS, ARM64 for the new Pi OS, and latest is for AMD 64. Whoops, this is not right. Let me go back. And this is actually tagged incorrectly because this is not AMD 64. But at some point I'm going to unify these into one tag with different architectures. And what it's doing at this point is building that Docker image on the Raspberry Pi, which takes a few minutes. So again, if I were a stand-up comedian, I could fill in this time with some great jokes and wonderful fun. And Oliver Davies mentions I should use Ansible Vault, and that is very true. And believe it or not, I actually upgraded my old Drupal, my Midwestern Mac code base that runs a bunch of my Drupal sites on a DigitalOcean server. It wasn't using Ansible Vault, but I wanted to have it on the screen to show how it worked. So I did switch it to use Ansible Vault. It's pretty easy to do, but it takes like 10 minutes, and I didn't have 10 minutes because I just thought of live streaming this whole process about an hour and a half ago while I was at the grocery store, and I found the 9 balloon and those things that you see behind me. That wasn't an hour and a half, 2 hours, about 2 hours ago. And I was like, hey, I'll do this live stream after I thought about it this morning, and then I thought, why not actually do it a little bit ago? Anyway, this takes a while. And if I log into that Raspberry Pi, this is HPi at 10.0.100.10, I think it is. If I run top, you'll see that it's Docker is consuming one of the CPU cores, doing all of its work to build that image. Once it's done, I should see, so if I go to pydramble.com right now, this is still running on Drupal 8.8.6, I believe. Oh, it's probably slow because this server's being consumed by Docker. Although it has plenty of RAM, which is nice. Okay, there it is. And Geerling guy, and I'll use my Touch ID. Let's see if that logs me in. No. One error, unrecognized. Oh, I'm definitely in there somewhere. I was going to show this, but the problem is that my password is not set there. I think the password might be reset every time I reinstall the site, so I'd have to do the forgot my password, which I don't even know if that works. So what I might do is do drush ULI inside of here. So let me do docker ps, and I may need to be sudo. And this Pi is now in addition to my Mac being killed, the Raspberry Pi is probably being killed right now by doing this Docker build. Yeah, the password is I love Drupal. Oh, I will definitely not make my wife sad. That would be very sad. I start to look like Eli the computer guy, somebody who I don't know, but now I'm going to have to check them out. Sudo su docker ps. Let's see what's running on the Pi. Docker exec-it Drupal. It's funny, whenever I do this, I always am like -n and then give it a namespace, but Docker is not Kubernetes, so Kubernetes has taken over my exec-it thing. Docker exec-it Drupal bash. And then I'm going to say drush ULI, get me a login. Should be called drush get me a login. I don't even know what ULI stands for. Unlimited internal access. Something login, user login, I guess maybe. All right, so I'm going to grab that. You know what? This is if you were a very fast typer, you could have just logged into pydramble.com there. But I believe that well, there's a good enough delay that now you can't. And I'm going to not use that password. Let's see. So this is, whoops, this is running cache through Cloudflare. So front-end pages sometimes don't bust the cookie, and you see that it's not logged in, but I am logged in. So I'm going to go to status report. Pydramble.com on this Raspberry Pi is currently running Drupal 8.8.6, and now you know that trusted host settings apparently is not enabled on this site, so I should probably do that too. I'll make an issue for that. See, there's all these little things that when I do a live stream, I'm actually exposed, so I should probably actually do the right things. Configure trusted host settings in Docker container environment. Okay, well, we'll do that some other time. But, I mean, this site is, I can rebuild it pretty quickly and easily, so I'll exit there. And hopefully that key actually expires when you use it. Otherwise, someone else could log in as admin and temporarily deface the site, but when it gets reinstalled in a minute, it will revert back. So it'll be a short-lived victory for whoever hacks the site. All right, so this is running Drupal 8.8.6, and we have Drupal 9 ready to go. And I did that, and I mostly did that, and I am doing that. And let's see how this is going. So it's still building. Ooh, I might be hitting. Whenever I see these guys, the MMC block thing, that means that it's writing to the extraordinarily slow micro SD card. If you use a Raspberry Pi, it's good to use an external drive to boot if you can. Looks like that part's over. So that was doing a chown, changing the ownership of files. And that's very slow on the Raspberry Pi. So let's see what it's doing. It's still building the image. This is one thing where it would be cool. Ansible is great for managing Docker containers, but it does not give real-time output for what's happening, which is nice to have on Docker image builds. So there's actually a way that that could happen, and it's been in development for a while. So that'd be cool if it can happen at some point. Oh, it looks like, yes, things are happening. Oh, I need to fix that too. Yeah, I'll make an issue for that. That's under the Drupal Pi project. Let me create an issue. Making all kinds of work for myself today. Update build.poll value for. That actually might not be part of this project. But anyway, that might be something custom I'm doing. Okay, so it built it, it's running it, and if you go to pydramble.com right now and you bust the cache, it is probably going to give you the Drupal installer page. No, it's not. That's weird. Bring up the Docker containers. Docker stats. It should have, oh, Docker stats. It should have restarted Docker with the new container, which it looks like it may have just done. Refresh. I shouldn't still be logged in, I don't think. Oh, look, it's Drupal 9. Hey, uh-oh, this is bad. And yeah, okay. So apparently it did upgrade, and apparently it is not compatible with the super ancient version of MySQL I'm using, but that worked. So I was going to reinstall the site, and I probably still will do that after this, but just for the interest of time, I'm not going to do that. And it's not letting me upgrade because of the database problem. But it's working. So here, I'll give the wonderful confetti again. We'll see if, nope, still pretty slow. It's a little faster this time. But if the confetti were real time, I would be moving faster than the speed of light right now. I'm going to call it a win. And I'm going to say that my belly is rumbly a little bit and it's dinner time for me. So I'm going to leave this task open, and I'm going to come back down later and reinstall and probably also update the MySQL container so it's running a newer version. The problem is that there's, unless you run MySQL 8, there's only a few MariaDB images that are compatible with old Raspberry Pis. So anyway, I think that's victory. I think that we have won, even though there's a few problems here and I can't run database updates because it's hitting this database version requirement issue. I think that I can confidently say that pydramble.com is the first Drupal 8 website on the internet. No, Drupal 9, sorry. The first Drupal 9 website on the internet running on a Raspberry Pi. And potentially the first Drupal 9 upgrade that has ever happened before. Especially the first one that's live streamed. Probably the only one for a while, if not ever. And that's it. So awesome. All right. Have a good night, everybody. I will, do I have an outro? No, I have this. Look, there's me, Gearling Guy. You go right here, here. Subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. I'm going to go eat dinner. Have a good night for those of you across the pond. And I will see you next time. If I can finish there we go, end stream, there we go. See you guys.